As I got another rhyme, another rhythm for y'all to listen. I'm never quitting on my mission, I'ma roll with what I'm giving. Got some ambition, this new edition, filling positions. Looking at the void in myself and feeling what's missing. Better watch the way you going, better go in the right direction. In the moment you stressing, but you gon' be counting blessings. And I know that for certain, keep on working, open curtains. Haters swerving, cause they ain't ready for your final version. Whoa. I'm never gonna give up, fall down, I just gotta get up.
You're listening to the Tom Ficklin Show on WNHHLP 103.5 FM, your home for community radio.
Good morning, everyone. And it's a good morning from my standpoint, even if you have some tragedies in your life or just dealing with struggles or just trying to survive and what this means to be human on the planet at the moment. Certainly if you're in the Ukraine and elsewhere, there are challenges. But I guess there's been challenges since we, men and women, have been on the planet. So we're not going to be too metaphorical or philosophical this morning, but in a way we are, because we're going to talk about this crisis in terms of infant formula. And even just this, to have this show, and I'm fortunate to have some guests that will kind of carry the burden and share information and lift up, if not some optimism, some realism and proactive steps that we can take to negate and this infant formula crisis. But in terms of supply chains and food and humanity and recognizing people and nurturing people, all my shows are really hopefully focused on that thought of how can we survive and thrive as a collective species and not be triaged. But I was looking this morning, we're going to talk about the infant formula crisis, and this morning it came across my desk that there was a video of mothers fighting over baby formula at a New England Target store. And two ladies were in the aisle, and one lady kind of put almost everything that was remaining on the shelf in her basket and the other, and leaving nothing for other people. And to me, that this kind of just illustrates that we gotta, whether it's infant formula crisis or food crisis or climate crisis, this is one planet. And we all deserve some sort of equal opportunity to survive on it. But let me get back on track. So I want to welcome all my guests this morning, and we're going to talk about this infant formula crisis. And we have Natasha Ray, Leslie Harder Gardner, Liz. My last name is only 2 syllables and it's Ficklin, but people still have mutilated it. So I imagine that you might be on the Guinness Book of Records for people having creative ways of expressing your last name. Would you help me out a little bit here?
Absolutely, Tom. It's Znamierowski. It's actually very phonetic, but it looks a little scary.
So Liz, it's Znamierowski. I love to kind of practice my iterations. Leslie Sood and Janet Alfano. And did I capture everybody? Leslie Brown. Yeah, okay, Leslie. Good to see you. Leslie's been on the show a few times as well, so you're a pro. But let's jump right in, Natasha and everyone. All our concerns and our questions, we're going to kind of everyone can have an opportunity to share. And for radio, although my ego is big enough that I really believe for these next 50 minutes, people will be listening intently and not going to the bathroom or something. But so if we say something and then a little later we want to repeat it, that is totally fine. That is totally fine. There's so many points that need to be reemphasized. And adult learning behavior, as we all know, we don't always capture everything when we hear it for the first time. But Natasha and everyone else, let's kick us off about this infant formula crisis and what it portends, what it signifies, and what we can do to abolish it.
Sure. So thank you, Tom. So we know that on Wednesday that President Biden invoked the Defense Production Act in efforts to increase baby formula supply, as well as launching Operation Fly Formula to speed up the import of infant formula and to get more formula into the stores as soon as possible. And these efforts will increase supplies within days, but it remains unclear on how quickly it will translate into fully stocked shelves. And it's been estimated about an additional 10 weeks. And, that 10 weeks is a very long time when we're talking about meeting the basic needs of our most vulnerable citizens. Also, Congresswoman DeLaura, who is and has been a steadfast champion for families here in Connecticut, introduced Bill 7790 this week. And this bill is designed to provide $28 million in emergency supplemental appropriations to address the shortage of infant formula in the United States. It was passed in the House 231 to 192. Not sure why it wasn't unanimous, but and then the Senate received the bill yesterday, and they have not reviewed it yet. So they just reviewed the bill for the first time yesterday. So those are like pretty current and recent updates.
Excellent. Would anyone like to kind of comment on that? Because even Natasha, when you mentioned the folks that did not vote, I mean, they probably were, as you say, primarily Republican. But this civil war we are, or this political civil war that we're in, when something as obvious to many, to myself, and I'm sure to everybody else, where we can give so much money to the Ukraine, which, and it's not that the Ukraine doesn't deserve it, that's a war also going on. But just the fact to have that number of folks that on the House side that were opposed to it, which gives me pause to think that whether it even will have a chance to pass in the Senate, as divided as the Senate is. But we won't I won't prevaricate too much. So just thanks for sharing that. Would anyone like to talk about respond to what Natasha mentioned in terms of the House decision? If not, we can move on. Okay. And any new updates that we'd like to provide in terms of the shortage?
This is Janet Alfano from the Diaper Bank. I'll jump in and just to say, I'm really grateful for the leadership of Congresswoman DeLauro on this issue, and she will be actually hosting a roundtable on Monday in New Haven. We're still working out the details to really hear from advocates and also folks who are impacted directly by this issue. And one thing that we know, while this current supply chain issue has brought formula need to light, we certainly know that for many of our families, paying for formula was out of reach for them, that this existed as an issue during COVID, but also for some folks who don't qualify for assistance through WIC or food stamps, or it's not quite enough for them, that this need already existed. And so what I am hopeful about is that they will not only think about this current urgent need, but also look at some long-term solutions so that this isn't out of reach for so many families in Greater New Haven and across our state and country.
And Janet, I so appreciate your sharing that, putting it placed into the historical context, and everyone on the show this morning, as we kind of dialogue, kind of also take the little bit of the deep dive about how your role and your responsibilities and accountability here in New Haven pertain to this issue. So Janet, I will give you a chance to a sidebar on the diaper bank, because again, there's just so many interconnected issues, and I want folks to kind of see that we all are indeed, I want to think that we all are indeed one united species. So in terms of the event that's coming up for Congressperson DeLauro, that'll be on her website perhaps, or you can email us, or? Yes,
I'll share more information. Obviously it came up rather quickly, so they're finalizing the details on that for Monday. And thank you. We hear really what we're doing is simply listening to the families that we serve, and that this came to us as an urgent need very early on in COVID because of some of the supply chain issues, but then hearing more and more from families that this is not only something that is pandemic related, but rather it can be out of reach for folks. And that while I'm certainly happy that a light has been shined upon this issue, that it took wealthier folks being impacted for this to come to light. But we will take advantage of the scrutiny on this issue so that it can both, again, I will repeat, as you said, think about the short-term urgent need and the long-term impacts, and how can we make this more accessible to families moving forward.
Absolutely. Would anyone like to elaborate on what Janice just shared?
I just want to add to that, for just to make clear that the programs that are in place, the name supplement is in there for a reason, right? So it is not designed to be the primary source, right? So even the supplement, for instance, WIC, and so again, those things were not enough then. So to have this issue present now, it's, and to think about who it's impacting is just, it's appalling. right? And it's, again, there's historic, disparities in that, but also, this has been an issue since this particular issue in Sturbridge, Michigan, with the Abbott manufacturing plant has been an issue since October 2021, right? So Congresswoman DeLauro received a 34-page whistleblower report from a former employee at Abbott, and the FDA did not give it any attention until December, and the nationwide recall did not happen until February. And we know for certain that we've lost infants because of this, and I go back to that 192 number, right? So how is there nothing done in October? And how does it just like sit on someone's desk or wherever it sits for that long when we're talking about infants, newborns, right? Again, our most vulnerable citizens.
Natasha, let's just take a little minute for you to give a plug, not necessarily a plug, but to remind people of the historical, I'll say that the historical and historical innovation of the existence of Healthy Start New Haven. Share just for some of our new leaders.
Absolutely. So Healthy Start Initiative came out of the Bush administration, Father Bush, in 1991 for the nation's response to the infant mortality rates of the late 80s, early 90s. And it started with 15 demonstration projects to have a community-driven approach for reducing the infant mortality rates in 15 communities. 5 years later, there was efficacy shown and that this Healthy Start model did improve the rates. Of course, not as ambitious as we look, not by half or not eliminating them, but absolutely giving them attention and addressing them. And so from 1991 to where we are now, 2022, we have 101 sites nationwide. And community-driven, and I say that, and I know that it's been a lot of talk about that, but in 1991, the leaders of Healthy Start says, we cannot effectively engage the community without hearing from the community, right? So our funding was contingent upon having more than half, 51% of our governing body of community residents, similar to the federally qualified health centers, right? And to come together, to bring those together who receive services and those who provide services, come together to have a dialogue around what are the challenges or barriers to accessing care, right? So, and if I'm looking, I come in for a pregnancy test and it could be, I could be in my second trimester before I actually get an appointment. Right. So, those things like that. And that's what Healthy Start has been addressing the structural barriers to health, right? And health inequities. And I know a lot of individuals like to, say social determinants of health, but they're structural. They're by design. Right. And and this is the work that we are all here up against. And, everyone on this call, we all are working collectively. We are all in partnership. We are all working to serve families together. Indeed. So no, we are not just on this call together, we're behind the scenes together.
Indeed. And I really want to thank you for allowing me to bring you guys on stage at such a short notice. So let's go around in terms of everyone kind of chatting about how they see their role in the I don't want to use the term ammunition, but they're and perhaps might not be a permanent solution, but certainly you're attacking to and alleviating the current crisis, attempting to alleviate the current crisis, but also understanding that it's an ongoing issue. So I mean, we're going to talk about what are you hearing from families and support services, and what if a mom is formula feeding now and needs to breastfeed, and are there any safe supplements, et cetera? And what if mom's natural milk is low, whatever that means? You can explain it for us guys that don't have a clue, but what about what that means? Also about how fathers can assist. But before I go there, this is my last kind of political statement. The assault on women, whether we saw it with the Supreme Court nominee and now with us, Judge Samuel Alito's document, seems to me everyone that has listened to the show, we got to really realize for whatever reasons, the males of the world have let our females down and or have been opposed to our female survival. I'll say that, and I'll stand by that at the moment. I am a male, so I'm pointing the finger at myself, which is why I wanted to do this show also. But that 98-page document that was leaked, people should read it. 98 pages to try to reverse Roe versus Wade. But anyway, let's go around, and Lisa, I'll put Miss Leslie Brown, I'll put you on the spot and kind of share a little bit how you're fighting this battle in a loving, nurturing, and compassionate way. Share with us if you would.
I just want to verify, you said Leslie or Lisa?
Well, we'll go with Leslie. No, I did say Lisa first, I apologize, but all the L's, but let's start with Leslie Brown.
Sure. Well, I gotta say, Janet and Natasha really articulated very eloquently the importance of acknowledging the fact that the infant eating as a whole, infant feeding as a whole has really needed, has had issues and needed, a lot of attention for a good long while now. Mm-hmm. And again, to echo what they were saying, I mean, in my experience formerly either with nutritionists, that's absolutely a regular situation where these supplemental programs are supplemental, and it's often, families are struggling outside of the allowance that they're issued, and finding and trying to find ways to make up for it. I think even with the story that you shared about the video, aside from, along with working to tackle the structural barriers that are in place, one of the things that it really comes down to is just creating this more unified community, breaking down of silos and really working together. These fights are happening in the stores because these moms, from historically going back, feel isolated and alone, and it's me or no one else, and you can't really blame them. It's survival, and that's a mentality that sadly is pervasive throughout our communities because of, again, historical traumas and structural barriers. And so for me, currently part of the solution is, again, gathering as much of the resources and information and going, straight to the source as much as possible, having it to share. And that's what I mean about the community aspect of it. Like, and the more that moms and families and dyads feel as part of said community, we're one, there won't be this need to fight for our individual survivals.
Yes. And Liz, just before I come to you, Leslie, maybe just center people in terms of your paycheck. When you get the paycheck, whether you get every paid once a week, twice a week, is it the Clifford Beer? What name is on that paycheck? And so share with us about your...
I'm a community health organizer for Clifford Beer. So a lot of our work right now is in systems and specifically connecting families to resource and community and and breaking down barriers to have organizations and more effectively work together to just provide continuous care and family-centered care. And that's ideal, really, like meeting families where they are, which, I mean, it's a whole nother conversation as it is. But yeah, I'll leave it at that.
Well, that's why we'll have you back on the show, Liz, and Seth Poole and others. Liz, let's go to you. Let's share with us a little bit.
Sure. So I am a pediatric nurse practitioner and a certified lactation counselor. I work for the Yale Community Healthcare Van and work very closely with Dr. Sood, who's also on this call. And we also work with Natasha. So when Natasha said that we are not only on this call together, we're behind the scenes together. That is very much true. So we see moms and babies out in the community with a mobile healthcare van. So we are going out to see moms and infants who may not be able to make it into that sort of flurry of appointments that you have in that first couple of months and weeks. And, in terms of getting the community perspective, this is a great way to sort of stay up to date on what's happening day to day. I'm hearing firsthand from moms who are really struggling to get formula. And if transportation's already an issue, they may not be able to travel out of state to get formula or to the next town over. So we're doing our best to connect them with community resources and help them with any breastfeeding questions that they have. But yeah, so that's sort of my perspective on.
And Liz, what are you hearing about from the psychological standpoint, or the stress at all, or
they are stressed. Yeah, they're stressed, and with good reason, right? Like they have this brand new baby. And if they are formula feeding only, that's the only way this baby is feeding right now. And so not only do they have a newborn and all of the joys and stress and sleeplessness that comes with that, but now they're stressing about how am I going to get food for this baby as well. And so, yes, the stress level is high.
So what does that? I mean, what does that mean? Like literally today, if I'm a mom with no formula and I don't want to breastfeed, does my baby die from starvation? I don't mean to be overly dramatic, but I'm trying to.
Yeah, so there's, if a mom would like to chat about, we call it relactation, essentially, is, how do I start breastfeeding if I haven't been already? That's something that, I talk with moms about. And we also try and connect to, New Haven Healthy Start or the diaper bank or other resources that moms can go to get formula. There are some Facebook groups that I know there's one mom that put together, and Leslie will have to remind me the name, but a Facebook group where moms can ask, what stores locally have formula. So yeah, there are options. It's stressful, but that's why we're here, sort of
Indeed.
Try and do our best to use all of these community connections to make sure that someone doesn't feel like they have no options.
And is there one number, or where should a mother go if they're so stressed out and they looked at 5 stores? But I'm still trying to drill down. Is there absolutely nothing available, or is it like a scrum? Is it a mad search for like what was that game where you would put your computer up and there'd be a sign on there was a computer game? But at any rate, what Leslie, share if you would, just jump in, Ms. Sue.
Sure. Yeah. I would say, half of the formula in this country is distributed through WIC programs.
Okay.
WIC does not, the Women, Infant, Children Supplemental Nutrition Program. And while WIC does not physically give out the formula, they provide vouchers or rebates to retailers for the purchase of formula. So they have been working, especially in Connecticut, very hard round the clock to maintain an up-to-date and accurate resource of where formula can be located for those who are really stuck.
Well, there still are some on the shelves.
There's still some on the shelves. It may not be the particular brand or the version of formula that an infant has been taking, but there is still formula on the shelves.
Okay. And Mrs. Hardy, please share a little bit in terms of what you've heard so far and the cross that you're bearing, but also kind of lifting up in a strong and passionate way.
Yes, as Natasha, Leslie, and Liz, and all of us say, we do work together. First, I would like to say my name is Lisa Hardy Gardner.
I'm sorry, Lisa.
That's all right. I actually always called Liz too, so I almost answered to that. So, but I am also the owner of Reliant Behavioral Health and Community Services, along with Effective Community Services, which is our nonprofit that provides basic needs support, and we have ties to Community Foundation as well as the WIC program. But on my behavioral health side, we are hearing our clients who have children. We are also partnered with Dr. Tamiko Jackson, who is a pediatrician. They are very stressed and anxious and expressing hopelessness, even because they cannot find milk, but infant milk. And, they're crying, and they're also reaching out for help even before they have their children. They're trying to be prepared as best they can. And, the onset of the emotions that comes behind that, can cause other problems even before they deliver their baby. So we're trying to make sure that we could deter some of those issues that come before they have the baby as well as after. You know, what I'd like to say is, you know, while we're all sharing these resources, transportation definitely is an issue with many. And the good thing about our organizations, they are local. And with regards to transportation, there was some information that came out that Ned Lamont just put out with the bus transportation, that it was supposed to cease for free rides. I think it was July. However, they have now extended it to December 1st, 2022. So that can be something that we can eliminate possibly as a barrier. I think also one of the barriers that we're hearing about is location of where to get these milk. Oftentimes in our local urbanized communities, the milk, sometimes infant milk formulas are not readily available, and they have to drive for hours, not even, I would say out of state, or many minutes, 30 minutes, a half an hour, or even on the borders of New York to possibly get milk, infant milk, I should say. And I just want to reiterate some of the organizations that also have infant formula.
Please.
Behavioral health and community services, effective community services. We work very closely with to make sure that we're providing that basic need support in our organization. But there is also the Hopes Community Center in Cheshire.
Good.
Great to our New Haven County community.
Excellent. Ladies, let me jump in, and I hesitate to ask this question since I'm the only guy on the panel, but what can fathers do? What can males do, given this? Because I hear the medical issue with this severe medical priority, but also there's that social support issue that can kick in. So talk to us about, share with some of the guys that might be listening, so that we can kind of get over our hubris and ego and sexual identity.
So
you said that a little too quickly, Natasha. I think I better go to somebody else.
What about your ego, or about the response?
All right,
so,
go ahead.
I mean, dads can make sure mom is comfortable while mom is breastfeeding. They could work together to prepare breast milk to go into the bottle, and then dad could feed the baby at night and allow mom to rest. Dad could encourage healthy eating, educate themselves on, not just the importance of breastfeeding, but the physiology of breastfeeding and lactation, to have a better understanding of what's going on with mom and, hormonally and emotionally, and what it takes to breastfeed a child. So those are things that I think, like, how dads can assist.
Indeed, good. And uncles and grandparents and great-grandparents.
Absolutely.
All right, don't exclude us.
It takes a village, we know that.
Go ahead, please.
I was going to jump in. Absolutely, Natasha. I mean, I was also a certified lactation counselor, and I breastfed my children. And I got to say, without my husband's support, not just, through empowerment support and reminding me that I could do it, but also just basic things, right? The dishes are always haunting. So is the laundry. So are just the basic daily things that really just are haunting you throughout the day while you're trying to feed and raise your baby, and also sleep and bathe, and just basic necessities. And even not necessarily asking, but just doing that overnight assistance, it's huge. Or even if it's not there, but during the day, not having to worry about those things can make a world of difference. And I think also just part of the empowering and the support is also letting mom know that it's okay to both ask and need help, not even just from him, but from others. Like it's absolutely okay. And because a lot of moms just really believe that it's just all on us, right? I got to do this. And well, I'll just leave it at that. I mean, I constantly spoke to, the moms I worked with about that, about really leveraging your supports all around you. And all it takes is a question. And a lot of times people want to help.
Let's jump about the breastfeeding issue, because here I'm not as familiar with this topic as all of you are, But is it fair to say that breastfeeding, well, is it fair to say that breastfeeding is better or it's an alternative? And why is it not universally adopted? Ms. Sood, I'll put you on
That's
the
a
spot.
big question that we could probably devote an entire hour to.
We will do 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 or 7 more shows on this topic. As much as, but let's break the ice.
When we talk about breastfeeding in the context of the formula shortage, I think it might be helpful to really clarify that a discussion of breastfeeding is not about a solution to the current shortage. And we would not want any listeners who wanted to breastfeed and couldn't, or chose for various reasons not to breastfeed, or had some real barriers to breastfeed, such as medical problems or anatomical problems, or a baby with special medical needs that couldn't breastfeed, or a very premature infant who wasn't able for various reasons to be offered breast milk, or at least go to the breast early on because of their medical care. We don't want that to complicate this discussion. But Tom, when you were talking earlier at the very top of the show about various crises that we are facing as a society, climate crisis and wars and pandemics, it calls to my mind, the need for us as a society and as a global community to prepare for the next crisis.
Yes.
There's going to be more shortages. There's going to be another pandemic. The earth is warming. This is going to impact food supply. Right now, 10% of the world's calories are locked up in Ukraine in the form of grain that can't get out because of the barriers that the war has created. So I see talking about breastfeeding and lifting up the importance of breastfeeding as for those who can, as a very basic and essential form of infant nutrition that is a pretty ready resource for any woman who has become pregnant, or for a woman who's become pregnant and can donate excess milk to those who cannot produce their own milk for various reasons, as one of these strategies to mitigate the next crisis. Yeah. We're talking about ways to go electric and use solar and wind power and get more electric cars so that we can address fuel shortages. Well, this is our time, I think, to really think about not relying on an artificially produced milk to feed our children.
And Leslie, I would echo that. I think a lot of this is important to start talking about prenatally, sort of as Lisa brought up. Can we talk with moms earlier so that we can chat about all those questions about breastfeeding and the what ifs and, how to, and all of this stuff. I think that's just to sort of make it a more commonplace topic, and something that people are, ready to talk about and feel prepared once we have this infant. So it's not just a shock to everyone's system and you're expected to pick it up like that, because we know it's different for everyone, and it's new for mom and it's new for baby.
We have about 15 minutes, so again, if something crosses your mind and if nothing is out of order to share, definitely feel free to elaborate. I was curious, and I don't think anyone. Well, let me get spit it out. If I'm a mom now at Yoden Haven Hospital about to deliver, have I gotten information about feeding my baby after I leave the hospital, given this current crisis?
You've gotten some information, but you may, as Liz points out, you may not have gotten it early enough to really digest it and to share it with your partners and your family, and to digest it and process it. And we tend to give information in little packages, at little points. But as Liz was saying, we don't make it kind of universally normative. We should be flooding our media with all kinds of images of breastfeeding, and I'd be curious if some smart researcher could actually scan media or the internet or Facebook for how many times you see a baby with a bottle or formula versus how many times you actually see an infant at the breast in all kinds of media images that we consume. So Yale New Haven Hospital does have a pretty robust in-hospital lactation support experience, but there's simply not enough of the counselors to spend as much time during the 2 days or 3 days that a woman might be hospitalized during her birthing experience. And we certainly have excellent, like Liz, like Leslie, and other counselors that the WIC program provides. They're fantastic, but there's just not enough of them to spend as much time as we need. But, if this was something that was transgenerationally commonplace, we wouldn't necessarily need to rely on experts or hospitals to give all the support. We would have enough community members with deep experience and confidence and a positive feeling about breastfeeding to make it less daunting for those who choose to breastfeed that or to offer that form of nutrition to their baby.
As we wind up, we're going to certainly talk about and repeat the next steps to address this temporal issue, but also as you indicated, Leslie, the preparing for the future and being a good Boy Scout and Girl Scout and kind of just earning your merit badges as you journey through this life. So what's crossing people's mind is we've had a chance to chat generally for like the last 40 minutes. What would you like to share?
Sorry, Tom, I just want to circle back, which has not been talking about, which is the mental health aspects of breastfeeding, the stigma and taboo around breastfeeding. And I believe that's part of the antecedent as to why breastfeeding has not been spoken about, because it is a topic that could be culturally sensitive to some. It could be religiously sensitive to some. It could depends on someone's race or ethnicity, but we can't negate that some women have experienced trauma prior to all of these events, and it's not that they may not want to feed their babies by breast. They may have some experiences that were traumatic surrounding sexual molestation or touch that can trigger trauma that they've gone through. So I think that it is very important that when they have the lactation specialist come in, there should be a snippet of information discussing mental health and trauma around that also. Because we really do want to take the shaming out of breastfeeding and what it looks like, whether it's in a public place or around family or anywhere, even if they're alone, what it feels like to them.
I am the host, so I have the mic, but I don't want to monopolize the mic. So I have a question in my mind, but does anyone else like to comment on something that's circulated through their consciousness?
I was just going to say I really appreciated Sardi bringing that up, because I mean, this is kind of, and we've heard this term of trauma-informed care circulating a lot more recently, but this is why it's critical across all sectors, because at the root of it all is all the historical trauma that has happened in current, and that is always going to affect and stand as a barrier to any treatment, to any kind of progression or treatment. And so that's, say it louder for those in the back, please.
Indeed.
That's critical.
Indeed.
I just want to say, Tom, before you wrap up, the conversation for the past, 2 years has been about the chain supply, the shortage, which, and after Leslie, talked about, the pandemic, the war, and the assault on women's bodies, I would, invite us all to think about, are we in a humanity shortage?
Indeed. Let's elaborate on that. And maybe if I could take the freedom of expression and ask you to and we have about 10 or so more minutes, but even now to just lift up I want you to say something directly to moms and to humanity from either a mantra standpoint, not necessarily from a prayer standpoint, but I'd like everyone to kind of say something directly to moms, and particularly a mother that might be in her, the trimester, like there's 3 trimesters, is that the way that works? The first three, 6, or 4, whatever, 5, how many, whatever, how many?
We do think about the first 3 months after birth as the 4th trimester.
Oh,
That's
really?
right.
Okay, so
Yes.
okay, so, but.
That's the at-risk time for maternal mortality, like that
Fascinating.
12 weeks postpartum. Absolutely.
So let's say something as an affirmation or mantra or prayer to them. I want to go around to each of you, to a mother, because we hear so much about epigenetics and people mention this term trauma, but it seems to me that if you're a mother, there's a theory that your thought process is impacting the development of your baby. What's going through your mind even before the baby is born has a, there's theories about an impact on there. So Ms. Brown, kind of share a few sentences about what you would say to a mother from an encouragement or prospective mother from an encouraging or perspective standpoint.
You're muted.
I would say you're more than enough. And you not only don't have to do this alone, but you're not alone.
Excellent. Excellent. Liz?
Yeah, I would just say, I see you, I hear you, and we are here for you.
Janet?
You are a powerful life giver, and more than my words, I want to ensure that I take action to ensure that the policies that are promoted, that the actions that I take and my organization takes are working for you.
Lisa? Gardner?
Thank you. I would definitely, from a mental health aspect, also tell them that they are safe, they are worthy. We are here for you as well. And mirror, some of the things that Leslie and Liz have already said. Yes.
Leslie Sue?
I would say that we thank you and are grateful that you brought this new life into the world. And we want to take care of you as much as you want to take care of this baby you have brought to the world.
And I'll say to the fathers and to the males that we take our existence as a male for granted. I mean, we would not be here if there wasn't some quote unquote assistance from another sex. So we should really kind of just understand that we are indebted, and let's pay back our indebtedness in whatever ways that we magical, mystical, economic, substantive, whatever way that we can daily, 24/7. 365. We have about, thanks ladies for sharing that. So we have another 10 minutes. Let's go for it. There was one, Natasha, you had mentioned something to me about mother's natural milk what if a mother's natural milk is low? What does that mean?
Oh yeah, I did mention it. And that is part of the physiology of lactation. So either Leslie or Liz.
Okay.
Well, like there are things that mom could take, her diet. So
and
I'll let the certified individuals give the exact.
Go for it, certified individuals. And again, because the guys, Leslie Brown had mentioned about diet, and so go for it. What does this mother's milk might be low kind of thing mean?
So I'll also pull on both Leslie's because we have a lot of lactation expertise in the room. But, when I think about milk supply, I always think about supply and demand. So we need to remove milk in order to make milk. And so those hormones that tell our bodies that we're going to be producing milk, they need to be stimulated. And so one of the things I think about is, hand expression and just skin to skin with the baby, frequent nipple stimulation, all of those things get that hormone feedback cycle kicked in. And Leslie jump in if, to add.
I was going to say the same thing because a lot of moms worry about their diet, but truly it's more so like you said, the supply and demand, the extraction and stimulation. And so that's that. I think even just getting that notion around about really, spending time with your baby as much as you can and focusing on you and your baby, which is where the hard part, where the support comes in, because again, the laundry and the dishes and all the other responsibilities come in to stand as a barrier between you and that baby.
And I would say, sometimes we hear breastfeeding is a full-time job, and it is. Sometimes lactation counselors will tell people to triple feed or to, do power pumping. And that is asking moms to either pump or express every 10 or 15 minutes throughout the day. I mean, it's a lot.
Excellent. Okay. Thanks for clarifying that, because I had no, again, the guys, please, the gentlemen that are listening to the show, listen to the benefit of the internet is, et cetera, is that these shows are on YouTube, and we send them out to people. And Natasha, I'm sure you'll share the link with folks. But yeah, and various male involvement groups, we got to know of our role and our destiny and our obligation.
And I'd like to just circle back and, talk about the resources.
Please, let's conclude on the resources. Yes, please.
To breastfeeding. We're talking about breastfeeding, but it should also note that, if you're not able to, or you are, for whatever reasons, whether it's medical or mental health wise, the alternative to actually having a baby latch on could be breast pumps, which are paid for typically when written as a script from the pediatrician, whether it's state insurance or private insurance. Those things can be covered through insurance. So there is access to breast feeding devices. I want that to be known. And
Please.
Also, and one thing that we should also mention that pediatricians can write prescriptions for individuals whose infants have medical diagnoses where they could get infant milk. And such medical diagnosis could be endocrine and gastrointestinal disorders, severe food allergies, and metabolic disorders as well.
Excellent.
I'd like to add to that, right along with it, that pumps are another one of the WIC is another one of those resources that can also aid with both hand pumps and potentially electric pumps as well for those moms who don't have insurance or have any other barriers. The WIC definitely stands as an excellent resource for attaining one. And same thing with the specialized formulas with the specialized formula.
Right. And that also, I believe, requires a prescription from the pediatrician as well. So it's not that you have to go specifically to the pediatrician office. There's a document that you would bring into the WIC office that you can do your pediatrician, and then they would give it to WIC.
Absolutely. They can have it. The WIC office can give it to you, and it's also on the website.
Right. Yep.
Excellent. We have about 5 minutes. And what I do during the shows is I push the envelope. Harry plays the music, and that means we're being kicked off, and he's going to go to the next show. We have about 4 more minutes. Let's kind of address, if we would, next steps in the short and long term. Who would like to go first?
Well, I think that the Biden administration is seeing that it needs to examine some of the policies that have brought us to this place. The United States produces 98% of the formula that is consumed by its population because of historic restrictions and trade limitations on the importation of formula. So that needs to change. The tariffs that are imposed on the import of foreign formulas makes it prohibitive to have a truly competitive market in the United States. So I see.
So I mean, Leslie, you're saying that formula that's available in other countries rarely enters the United States?
That's right. 17% tax or tariff placed on Canadian formula.
If it does, it's more expensive?
More expensive. There's only 4 formula manufacturers in the United States.
So it's a capitalistic monopoly. I'm sorry.
That's right.
Let me delete that. Okay. Next. That's another show. Okay. Thanks for Thanks for raising that political economic dimension. Absolutely. Next, please. Get me off the hot seat, guys, because I don't want to some stuff on my mind here. Say something, anybody.
I just want to make mention in regards to locations again for resources for milk. We also again have WIC, the local hospitals, Hope Community Center, as well as Reliant Behavioral Health. We are located on 419 Welly Avenue, New Haven, Connecticut, and we can be reached at 203-439-5555, extension 2.
Perfect.
I would add on to that, just, be really cautious about what you're seeing out there for homemade formula. We don't currently endorse any homemade formula. So I just wanted to put that out there. Get in touch with your pediatrician if you have questions about that, but be really wary of some of the online recipes that are going around.
So people, as an alternative, people are trying to concoct their own potion.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, Jesus.
Absolutely. And I think that there is one that's kind of accepted, right, Dr. Sood, by the World Health Organization.
Okay.
And if you could, say more about that, that would be fantastic.
There's one recipe that is available online in a published monograph from the World Health Organization. I have zero personal experience with this recipe, but I have a great deal of respect for the World Health Organization. It's basically a combination, and I'm not going to give the recipe because I don't want anybody to get it wrong, but it's a combination of whole milk and water and sugar, believe it or not. The problem with it is that it's deficient in other minerals. Cow's milk has 0 iron in it. So if this were to be used in a true crisis for a short period of time to provide calories for an infant so that they at least have the calories that they need to thrive and sustain life. I would also urge vitamin supplementation at the same time and making the pediatrician aware. And I probably would not use this before 6 months of age. It would only be after 6 months of age. And I'm rushing because I know the music is going to come on. I also want to highlight that after 6 months of age, there's a variety of pureed foods that babies can start making. And so we can kind of really, have another discussion about how to feed your baby complementary foods. So it's not all about formula or breast milk.
Okay, that's another show. Good, great. Thanks for that tip. We'll love to do it because again, the whole holistic healing, nurturing, loving, thriving, surviving. That's people ask me what my show's about. That's what it's about. We have specific topics, but it's all in that same umbrella of fulfilling our destiny and being healthy while we're doing it. I think Harry's put some a note. I think he's giving me a little more time. Let me just check his. Okay, he's mentioned something else. So closing remarks.
Yeah, you got about a minute.
Quick closing, 10-second closing remarks, if any. Jump in, guys.
If anybody would like, who is interested in relactation or does want some breastfeeding or any kind of feeding support, they can also reach out to the Community Health Caravan. There is a website with a phone number, and we can get out and see you. Excellent.
So maybe rather than, in addition to the ice cream trucks, we can have infant formula trucks going around the town and ringing the bell and stopping through the neighborhood. That's something. Got to work on that. Ladies, thank you so much for being involved and remaining passionate and committed, and certainly I appreciate this opportunity. And let's consider doing it again.
Have a great weekend, Tom. Thank you so much.
As I got another rhyme, another rhythm for y'all to listen. I'm never quitting on my mission. I'ma roll with what I'm giving. Got some ambition, this new edition, filling positions. Looking at the void in myself and feeling what's missing. Better watch the way you going, better go in the right direction. In the moment you stressing, but you gon' be counting blessings. And I know that for certain. Keep on working, open curtains, haters swerving, cause they ain't ready for your final version. Whoa. I'm never gonna give up. Fall down, I just gotta get up, yeah. Cause this is my road. Let's camera action, I'm ready to go. I'm never gonna give up. Fall down, I just gotta get up, yeah. Yeah, this is my road. Let's camera Now you gon' face the dawn you waited for. I said from night to dawn, I right my wrongs alone. In competition with warnings, ice galore. Now I'm running toward it, my lights, I'm finished being a quitter. But little by little, they joking, telling some riddles. Now I'm in my section, ain't willing to give up. Know you getting knocked down, but you gotta get up. I'm never gonna give up. Fall down, I just gotta get up, hey. Cause this is my road. Lights, camera, action, I'm ready to go. I'm never gonna give up. Fall down, I just gotta get up,